Married people of Reddit, what was your first impression of your spouse? I was working at a restaurant that happened to have a mostly female staff and had a recent string of not so great male servers. One was caught stealing, another one was a perv, and the another was just a tool. So one shift, when an older waitress was training this new hire and said how good looking the new trainee was, like Zac Efron, I kind of rolled my eyes and did not have high hopes. Sure enough, when I went to introduce myself, I did notice he was admittedly good looking and actually very polite with a deep voice. We got married 6 years later. She has beautiful eyes and she was so pretty still, very much so. I was so nervous. I went to bathroom and gave myself double finger guns and said don't screw this up. Still married 5 years. Also, we met on Tinder and yes, she looked like her picture. I was a bartender and he was one of the first to get a drink from me that day, so I didn't think much. I was still trying to screw my head on and jump into the shift. He kept coming back though, not always to get a drink, sometimes just to stand near my bar while I made drinks. His friend brought him there for his birthday, yet he spent most of his time with me. Once I noticed him, I thought he was a lovable dork. I needed to have a conversation with him where I could be myself and not in working mode. I thought he was an ex-convict. He's super muscular, tattoos covering every inch of his body all around, just a very threatening looking guy. He came up to me and told me, I think you are adorable. Can I have your number? I was petrified because I have never dated or attracted anyone of this type, but he charmed me. Turns out he's a huge softie with a goofy personality. He cracks up at the smallest things. He loves sweets like a little kid, getting tucked in at night, and is scared of the dark. I love him to bits. I don't remember. I was wasted and have absolutely no recollection of meeting her at all. Her first impression of me, however, was that I was obnoxious and probably gay. I guess first impressions aren't always the most important. What did you do to make her think you are gay? Laughing my butt off. That part made me laugh hard. I was acting pretty gay. A little background: my wife and I had a mutual friend. We will call her Amy, but we had never crossed paths because Amy had different friend groups. As people do, one day Amy invited us both out to the bar as well as other friends. It's not like she was trying to set us up or anything. Unfortunately, she also invited her on again off again douche of a boyfriend, who we will call Douche because he was a douche. Nobody liked Douche. He treated Amy like shit. He didn't respect any of her friends. He cheated on her. He was super controlling and was all around rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. So as soon as I arrived at the bar, I was in a bad mood and started drinking heavily. Another aspect of Douche was that he was super homophobic. This did not sit well with me. One of my best friends at the time and my roommate in college were gay, so this pissed me off even further. At one point during the night, I decided if I was going to be annoyed, so would he. And since Douche never bothered to learn anything about any of Amy's friends, he knew practically nothing about me. So I decided to act super gay in front of him to make him uncomfortable. I started acting very stereotypical and flamboyant and bragged about all the guys I made out with and so on. It was honestly pretty cringy and not my proudest moment, but I was young and stupid and, again, super wasted. But it did work, and he eventually got so disgusted that he left. Amy didn't really care because she was getting sick of his shit too. Also, at some point in the night, I apparently met my future wife. She was not impressed. A few months later, I met my wife for a second time when Amy had a party for her birthday. Douche was out of the picture by then and everyone was having a much better time. When I saw her for what I thought was the first time, I thought she was gorgeous and funny and was immediately drawn to her. And she had this silver dress on that was so damn sexy. I still think about it. We hit it off, and it wasn't until we had been dating for a couple of years that she told me about the actual first time we met. The night I got super drunk and acted gay to annoy Amy's boyfriend. Fortunately, I made a much better impression at the birthday party. Swear to God, it was exactly like the first time he sees Mariah in West Side Story. The entire rest of the room went blurry and she was the only person I could focus on, and I just went wow. I made up my mind to talk to her, rudely butted into whatever conversation she was having, by saying I have relatives in Sacramento, and she luckily thought I was cute. Been married 13 years now. She is so fair that she looked legit like a specter. She is the lightest woman I have ever seen. So fair that her eyebrows are nearly invisible. I thought it was too weird the first time I saw her. But then one night I saw her at a restaurant club type place in a very dark blue dress, but with her shoulders and legs very exposed, and she stood out so much. It was like she shone and radiated light like an angel due to her paleness. Then I immediately became attracted to her and eventually approached her at the bar. She said, "Oh hi, I know you. You work in the law firm next to where I work." When I first met my wife, I was convinced she had simply get up and leave the date. As time went on, I realized she was nervous and had a terrible self-image despite being drop dead gorgeous. It took me weeks to realize she thought I would walk out on her. We are rapidly approaching 10 years of marriage. She thought I was a creep when I said hello. I was just looking for someone to spend a few days with while on vacation. We were both single travelers in a hostel. Was not the first time I was single traveling. Usually managed to get a group together within a few days. Not this time. We ended up spending the entire vacation together. Just the two of us. Not immediately attracted to each other. But we got talking, and 6 hours later we were the only two left around the pool of the hostel, and exchanged numbers, and went to sleep separate thinking WTF just happened. Not married yet, but living together and engaged. Electric blue eyes that you can see from across the room. Wicked good sense of humor. Confident. So attractive. Love his freckles. I felt drawn to him like a magnet, and literally had an almost overwhelming urge to rub my face on him like a cat, which totally freaked me right out. I immediately texted my sister and asked if that had ever happened to her, because I felt like such a weirdo. She screenshotted the convo and saved it. Now she sends it to me every year on that date. The very first impression was pleasantly surprised. For context, it was my first day at my first student job, and my boss was showing me around and introducing me to everyone by going to all office rooms, one after the other. My now husband was in the very last room, and I was warned that that team was a bit special, mainly because of their very direct and sometimes weird harsh sense of humor. What surprised me was his hair color, as my now husband was the only one in this department of 50 people with brightly colored hair. So while I did not get to talk to him much that day, I remembered him for his hair color alone. It took us a few more weeks getting into contact and to eventually start dating. Last weekend was our 10-year anniversary and 3rd wedding anniversary, and he still rocks his brightly colored hair. Not my type. Our first ever meeting was at a movie night of mutual friend. We did not even speak as far as I remember. It was not until about a year later she showed up at a party in the local youth club where I was bartending that we got to chatting. Tried putting the moves on her, but did not seem like it was working. Same mutual friend as the movie night then nudged us together over the next week. Dude, I swears he is into you. And here we are 10 years together. 4 years married, and 2 kids later. Thought he was too good for me, was well off compared to me, and not a troublemaker. Now getting married this June. I thought he was too good for me at first. I was a huge troublemaker. When I was a teenager he was the complete opposite of that. We met via setup of sorts. My sister was getting trained at the same gym I went to, and would keep telling me how the trainer wanted to set me up with his brother-in-law. Back then, I recently got out of 2 somewhat back-to-back abusive relationships, and was hesitant, so I kept brushing it off. One day at the gym the trainer finally approached me and showed me a side profile pic of his, but I will call him JLOL. I said he looks like a celebrity, a combination of Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Martin, which Jay later was mortified that I thought he looked like the ugliest celebrities. Not true at all, as he was, and still is, a cutie. My number was passed along, and Jay messaged me, and we agreed to meet for a date that weekend. I ran into him before our date that week at the gym, and was super nervous cause I was all disheveled in my workout gear. Jay thought I did not like him cause I kept giving short answers and such. LOL. Here is where it gets funny. On the night of our first date he messaged me that his car blew a transmission line, and I had already heard and been through every excuse in the book So naturally I thought he was blowing me off. He was not. Just used a different car. On date night he shows up in a damn Cadillac. Immediately thought he was out of my league. He took me to a fine dining restaurant that I used to work at years ago. But after the date he wanted the night to kept going. So we went to mini golf. Got ice cream, etc. I was weird for me at first cause I have never experienced being treated so wholesome like that. I was so taken by his wonderful personality that I took him out for a dinner the following weekend. He came from a religious family, got into university via scholarship at 16, is a damn wizard with a computer. He played in the church band, no longer attends. When we first met, I thought I would be the black sheep in his family, cause I'm not religious in any sense, and I was not well off, like he was. I did not wear any designers, etc. Jay told me he was not religious either, just loved guitar, and it gave him a chance to play live. I was not shunned or judged by him, or his family at all. Been together for 7 years now. He gives me the most unconditional support I could ever ask for. He was there for me though my panic attack, cosmetic surgery which I paid for entirely myself, and encourages supports my abnormal hobbies and endeavors. He is extremely logical and has everyone's best interests at heart. He is encouraging me to get therapy for my anxiety issues. I'm trying to work on it, it's just scaring taking that step, lol. I proposed to him via webcam while I was in isolation last March due to COVID symptoms. We are getting married this June. I get to marry my best friend and have him by my side for life. Edit forgot to add how I later found out it was a giant ruse, in that he saw me multiple times at the gym, but was too scared to make a move, so he asked his bill to get my number for him. My first impression was actually mild disappointment in the thought that we were not compatible because he was not laughing at my jokes. In retrospect, I realized that at our first meeting, my now husband was literally dumbstruck. He was like those cartoons where their jaw dropped and they could not say anything coherent. He was just so jaw-droppingly, breathtakingly handsome. Completely left me speechless. I tried to think of ways to strike up a conversation with him, but I was extremely nervous and he was so ridiculously out of my league. I felt the same way after being friends with him for years, though by that time we did figure out that we love to talk to each other for hours. So my wife is extremely attractive. When I first saw her, I was on a lunch break and did not expect to see her. As in, I did not expect to see someone so attractive. I was flabbergasted and my mind just went blank. It was wild. Still is. Really. And every day I feel crazy because I cannot wait to get home already. Ugh. I wish I could leave work now and speed on home. Smart, sexy, and I was definitely gonna do him. Had met him online for that purpose, and when I felt the chemistry I knew. Then we walked outside and he had a frigging camouflage truck. Thought, what have I got myself into? But still did not matter cause I thought I was just gonna bang him a few times. My life is so much better because I took a chance. Because he took a chance. Even if it all did start with a message sent to my cleavage. Completely not my type. Never in a million years thought I did fall so hard for him. We met 5 years before we started dating. So I was a very different person, and so were my priorities. He was silly and light-hearted, and I did not perceive him as someone who could take anything seriously. We did not seem to share many interests, and at that time I considered it a must for my partner to like the same things as me. I found his music annoying, as I was more of an elitist back then. We also came from very different backgrounds and cultures, so I could not relate to him much. What changed? A lot. The short answer is, I changed. Because I finally grew up and realized what makes a compatible partner. The long answer, well, 4 years we were just friendly coworkers. I had been dating other people during this time. So I was learning through trial and error what I wanted and did not want out of a relationship. Eventually we did become good friends. After spending enough time together at work, talking, I came to enjoy our one-on-one conversations. And it turned out we actually agreed on a lot of the big subjects like religion, politics, philosophy, etc. So we had more in common than I originally thought. He was always kind to me, would share his snacks, and check up on me if I was stressed. He showed a genuine interest in my life, asking questions about myself and what my thoughts were on various matters. Years down the road I got the sense that he liked me. Took me far too long. But he never expected anything or made a move, even though we had hung out on multiple occasions, catching a movie or whatever. Still, I had not yet experienced any romantic emotions for him. Everything changed one night when we were out with a group at a bar. I was going through a pretty awful time at that point in my life. I had too much to drink and started crying and babbling at the table. He immediately took me outside, sat me down, and let me cry everything out while listening. He gently talked me down and gave me a boost of encouragement that I desperately needed at that time. Made sure I got home okay. It meant more to me than I can really describe. And that was the point where he became deeply important to me. It did not take very long for me to develop romantic feelings after that. It is hard to turn down someone with good character who treats you right. And it turned out, the things I was originally put off by different interests, backgrounds just make our conversations more interesting. He opens my mind. And I do it for him too. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.